What's going on in the big old world today, people? I'm going to bring you the latest and greatest, like I always do. And today, we're going to discuss the M&H Zinc Superfund site, the groundwater contamination and the breakdown of the site or sites. I'm going to try to educate you the best I can in a short video to try to explain to you how they broke down the sites of Carus Chemical, M&H, and I'm going to show you that Carus Chemical is OU1. That's operational unit number 1. They had to break these down into sections because the site is so big. M&H Zinc is going to be OU2. Matheson and Hegler and Carus Chemical are sister companies. Here's a little presentation of how they began and where they started. Carus Chemical started in 1915 and is still running to the present day. Matheson and Hegler, again, is operational unit number 2, and they were running smelting operations from 1958 to 1961. Zinc sheets from the rolling mill factory in 1886 to 1871. Mined coal from 1858 to 1937. Manufactured sulfuric acid from 1858 to 1968. This is a big commodity, was a big product for M&H and Carus Chemical. 1950s they produced ammonia sulfate fertilizer, and from 1980 to 2000 Fred Carus ran the penny company for the U.S. Mint. They did penny blanks. M&H is shady practices called the detrimental demise of the company. Carus is a sister company that stood the test and rose to the top with its potassium permanganate products. Operational Units 1 and Operational Units 2, contaminants of concern. The Carus Chemical area, soils, metals, and SVOCs. The slag pile area, soil, metals, and SVOCs. Groundwater, metals. Operational Unit number 2, which would be the rolling mills area, would be the building area 100, the soil, the SOVs, the PVCs, and asbestos. Rolling mill area, soil, metals, SOVCs, and PCBs. Main industrial area, soil, metals, SOVs, pesticides, PCBs, and asbestos. Northern area, also known as the muddies, metals, and SVOCs. Off-site residential, soil, metals. Groundwater, metals, SVOCs, VOCs, pesticides, and more. Our health risks for the operational unit number 1, which is the Carus plant area, would be soil. Cancerous and non-cancerous risks are within below acceptable risk range for worker scenarios. Now, the reason why they say that, people, is because they plan it on an 8-hour day. The slag pile soil. Cancer and non-cancerous risks are within or below the accessible range for worker scenarios. Again, they're saying if you're out by the slag pile, hanging out all day, which now they do not, because the simple fact that it's behind an EPA Superfund fence. Keep out. Off-site residential areas, cancer risk for residents for arsenic at 26 of the 185 properties tested. These risks, these are the facts that were dated and time-stamped on December of 2017. These risks are or at or exceed high end of the EPA risk range due to required cleanup. Non-cancerous risk for construction workers and residents. Anatomy, arsenic, cadmium, manganese, zinc for residents only. Lead concentrates greater than 400 milligrams per kilogram at 46 of the 185 properties tested. Lead at residents exceeded 1,000 milligrams per kilogram at only 4 properties. Highest lead concentration was 3,222 milligrams. That's pretty damn high, people. No samples collected indicated a high risk that requires immediate action. That's not very true because we are in the middle of this big Superfund cleanup. Okay, operational unit 2 human health risk summary. Building 100 hot spots, the soils, cancer risk for commercial and industrial workers. Lead presents risk to workers and child asbestos risk to commercial industrial workers only. Rolling mill area, soils, lead present risk to workers and children. The main industrial area, soils, cancer risk for utility workers, of course. And what do we have down there? Utility workers putting in utilities and digging in the dirt. Lead presents risk to all workers and children, recreationalists. Asbestos risk to commercial and industrial worker only. Lead present, no risk to construction worker. Here is the deal, people. They put this place behind a Superfund EPA fence, and they're saying that nobody will go past that fence and submit themselves to these risks. Fred Carus does run M&H. This is pretty much a memo that they're looking into the northern area at the Matheson and Hagler Zinc Superfund site. This area initially was considered for future residential use since there are homes within the vicinity of the location. That'd be up by me. However, after discussing this issue with the U.S. EPA's National Remedy Review Board, the region has reconsidered the future land use of this area. The region now recommends that the contaminated soils in the northern area be excavated to meet commercial industrial cleanup standards. They have yet to do this, people. They are not planning on cleaning up any of this stuff behind there. Carus Chemical and M&H are being negligent on cleanup of their contamination. It is intended that the northern area be zoned for industrial commercial, since the future residence use is not a reasonably anticipated land use. Discussions were also held with, of course, our city representatives relating to the future use. And the city did, they made an ordinance, and they're going to, who knows if they're going to follow it, because City of LaSalle don't follow no ordinances. This here is the map, the City of LaSalle. This is us, people. This is the residential area, the proposed cleanup area. They're testing. They started over in this area. This is up by me. They're moving this way. They're up past 351. This is Carus Chemical over here. Or nope, right here. This is M&H right here. This is the contaminated. This was what they consider. This would be the 100 area. This is also the staging site for the Superfund cleanup. And this is also another map. This is up in the northern area, also considered as the Muddies. As you can see, these maps are labeled off in different areas. This is Carus Chemical. This would be OU1. This is OU2. And again, this is OU2. But some of this is Carus Chemicals. They're leaving out one thing. They're going around the Apollo building. Why? I know when the EPA was up here questioning this with Carus Chemical, when they first went to this property and the contamination, they were mad. They were pissed that they were even asking these questions. This is the building 100 area, like I said. This is also our staging site. There is a building here, and it's pretty strange. This is Freddie Carus's land here. He owns this. This is where we come in for our staging, and we stage off over into this area here. Again, this is operational unit 2, because they had to break it down. Here's just a little map and a little outline of our site backgrounds. And this is our rolling mill area. This is the former zinc. Here again is our Apollo building, our residential area. Carus Chemical Company. The reason why they're looking into them is because of the slag pile back here. Plus they're ponds, people. They have arsenic and all kinds of stuff underneath their building in the groundwater. And we'll get to that here in a little bit. The Matheson and Hegler site is a 180-acre inactive zinc smelting and rolling mill facility on the east end of LaSalle that operated from about 1858 to 1978. The Little Vermilion River borders the site to the east, with residential properties on either sides. The site is enclosed by a chain link fence. Also, part of the site is Carus Chemical Company, which is an active manufacturing company. Environmental concerns include slag waste piles across the site, which contain metals such as cadmium, copper, chromium, lead, nickel, and zinc. Contamination from this former smelting process has been found in samples collected from the surrounding residential areas. Following immediate actions to protect the human health and the environment, investigations and cleanup planning are ongoing. Site background. Complex sites like this one are often broken down into smaller manageable sections called operable units, or OUs. At this site, OU1 consists of Carus Chemical and a large slag pile, while OU2 consists of a former Matheson Hegler Zinc Company in the surrounding residential areas. See the map on the right. OU1 site characteristics. This is going to give us a breakdown of both sites. Just a little bit of history. We're not going to get digging into it, but this is just a brief summary of it. For Carus Chemical, it covers about 47 acres, and it includes the southern portion of the site and the Little Vermilion River next to the site. Carus Chemical Corporation operates a facility on the location that produces potassium permanganate and other specialty chemicals. A large slag pile generated from the smelting operations on OU2, basically Matheson and Hegler Zinc, is mostly located on Carus Chemical property. Of course it is. Carus Chemical makes specialty chemicals in its facility in OU1, which is an independent of the former Matheson and Zinc facilities. Now, you may call it independent, I call it brother and sister, but the sister stood the test of times. Carus Chemical operations began in 1915 manufacturing potassium permanganate products for water purification and wastewater treatment. The company added other products to its manufacturing operations over time. In 1858 to 1961, cistern and slag from the smelting operations at the OU2 were placed on various locations, what is now designated as Carus Chemical property. Primarily in an upland area between Carus facility and the river. The recent slag pile covers approximately 17.7 acres and stands approximately 80 to 90 feet tall, people. Carus did not own the slag pile where the zinc smelting was being done. Of course they didn't. Characteristics of Site 2, which is M&H, covers about 180 acres. That includes an industrial portion of the former company. The property, as well as nearly 5,000 properties in the surrounding residential area in the Peru area. The smelting plant ceased operations in 2000. LaSalle obtains its drinking water from a cluster of 4 wells located 3/4 of a mile south of the site, while the nearest municipal well, approximately 3,700 feet south of the location, there is a wetland about 2 miles upstream from the site of the river, also the Lake of the Pew State Fish and Wildlife Area, and the Spring Lake Huron Colony, which provides breeding habitat for state endangered great egret, are about 15 miles downstream of the site. These areas are not affected by any site activities at this time. History. Basically, they ran from 1858 until 1961. The company operated a rolling mills in 1866. The process included a furnace that produced gas as fuel. Any sulfuric dioxide generated was recovered and converted into sulfuric acid and stored on-site tanks. For a few years during the early 1950s, an ammunition sulfur fertilizer plant operated at M&H. Coal mining also occurred in 1937. 2 mine shafts, one vertical and one horizontal, still remain at the site. Zinc smelting ceased in 1961. Sulfuric manufacturing halted in 1968 when Matheson declared bankruptcy. Only basic rolling mill operations took place from 1968 to about 1980. Here's your outline. Here's your of the QL1 area. Your slag pile. This is Carus Chemical. Also wanted to note, this is the Apollo facility, not enclosed in this map. Again, here it is, Apollo up here, not enclosed in the map. This is a better view of it. This is the Carus Chemical portion of the site, which also includes a portion that runs across this railroad here. There is a railroad that comes right through here. Carus Chemical owns all of this. So I don't know why they divided it off like that, but they are the owner of that and should be included in this area, which they're calling the rolling mill area. You go by the color on the chart. The purple is off-site mixed use area, and then you got your main plant area, your wooded areas, etc. Okay, people, these are their this upcoming EPA meeting at L-P this Wednesday, the 14th. This is what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about the groundwater. And what we have here is a map of all of the wells that were drilled to determine groundwater. These were all boreholes. They're on both properties, Carus Chemical and M&H. And each one is labeled and numbered, or labeled with a number. I want you to see that these are Carus Chemical owned. This is the tract that I'm telling you about. They own this track. This is the Apollo right here. This is your rolling mills area. This is the old plant. This is the old M&H Zinc. These are all the buildings that were back there, people, that we don't see anymore. All we see is crumbling foundations. This is Carus Chemical here. These are the chemicals that they're testing for. And when they're highlighted in black, they're past their, it's a concern. So you're looking at aluminum, antimony, arsenic, barium, beryllium, cadmium, calcium, chromium, cobalt, copper, cyanide, iron, lead, magnesium, manganese, mercury, nickel, potassium, selenium, silver, sodium, thallium, gallium, and zinc. That's a lot of stuff, people. And this groundwater has spiked in each one of these well casings that they drilled. And these are the numbers to them. This is example sheet number 1. There's many sheets that go with that. Here are some of your heavy metals, manganese, what they cause amnesia, insomnia, mental confusion. The list goes on. And you can read this. I'll leave this up for a minute. Here's some more. Arsenic, cadmium, chromium. These are the things that they cause, people. And after the fire, all of us had a lot of these problems. Just stating facts. Here's some ruins. This is out in the industrial area. As you can see, these are old foundations onto the buildings they tore down who knows how long ago. I can't find any record on when they demolished these places, but it's pretty interesting what they left us behind. As you can see, this is all the cinder, the smelted, different colored. It's all over back there. This is the building in the 100 area. Right here. Here's your slag pile, people. This is a 90-foot slag pile. This shows you how much they abused this land. Look at it. 90 foot. This is a man standing here. 90 feet, people. I cannot believe this. If I didn't see it with my own eyes, I'd tell you I was crazy. But I've been back here. I know how high this is. The railroad track, it just goes poof, and it ends. It's pretty weird. And we're going to end this video here because us in LaSalle, I'm going to tell you, we have been working on our Superfund site for a long time now. And not one of us, people, have seen them use water to hose down any dust that they create while they're working in our yards. This is a fact. This is a fact, people. And you want to know why we don't trust the EPA? It's because the EPA is not here when they're cleaning up our Superfund sites. My home was cleaned up. They dug almost 2.5 to 3 feet deep in my whole yard, people. And that's a fact. Hey, I'm here to educate you. And if this is what it takes for me to do it, I'm going to keep doing it.